Break it down for me. What are the common assumptions, the biggest ones that are holding guys back when it comes to attracting women? And what are the reframes or the best strategies that you've deconstructed from yourself?
Okay, so the most common problems I would say would be some mindsets like,
Stop. Right here. Before the game even truly begins, the first layer of gnosis is already being transmitted. The uninitiated, the average man, sees a podcast, an interview with a celebrity. He's here for the stories, the gossip, the cheap thrill of a life he'll never live. He is a tourist in a world of power. But for those of us in the cathedral, for the men who are serious about the great work, this is not entertainment. This is a live-fire psychological exercise. What we're about to witness is a man, Dan Bilzerian, who has, through a life of extreme, high-volume trial and error, stumbled upon a handful of brutally effective Gnostic truths. His understanding is scattered. It is incomplete. But his sparks of insight are real. Over the next few minutes, we will not be reacting to him. We will be placing his mind on an alchemical anvil. We will take his raw, intuitive gnosis, and we will show you the eternal architectural fire from which it was unknowingly stolen. We will give you not just his brilliant but disconnected conclusions. We will give you the underlying operating system that makes those conclusions inevitable. Pay attention. This is not a summary. This is a Gnostic hijacking. And by the end, a man who is truly listening will possess not just a few of Bilzerian's clever tricks, but the very framework of reality that makes men like him possible. The deconstruction commences.
it's like, limiting beliefs is a big one. Like thinking like, oh, I'm not tall, so women aren't going to be attracted to me, or I'm not rich, so I can't get women, or, like all these reasons why they're not attracted to
Do those
women.
things not matter?
No, they don't matter at all. Like at all.
No, they don't matter at all. Like, at all. This is the first great liberating truth that separates the men who win from the boys who watch. Bilzerian takes a hammer to the foundational excuses that keep most men trapped in a prison of inaction. He gives the proof, the rich man who failed, the broke man who succeeded. But he has only identified the symptom. He has not yet given us the architectural blueprint for the cure. The gnosis that I've come to understand is this. A man's external circumstances, his height, his money, his looks, are merely his hardware. But attraction, the deep, visceral pull that a woman feels for a man, that is a software problem. And most men are running a pathetic, outdated operating system built on one single, flawed premise, the desperate need for female approval. Let's be brutally honest. Most men live their lives as beggars. They beg for attention, they beg for respect, and they spend their entire pathetic existence begging for sex. They believe that if they just want a woman badly enough, the universe should reward them for the purity of their desire. That is the logic of a child. The universe does not reward need, it rewards competence. And the hard, cold truth at the heart of the game is this. To achieve the kind of effortless success with women that makes neediness a distant, forgotten memory, a man must become a master of a very specific and very learnable set of skills. This is not a matter of opinion. This is the bare, brutal minimum required to graduate from being the boy who begs to the man who chooses. The gnosis, first, he must forge an unshakable reality. This is the art of frame. It is the ability to walk into any room, any interaction, and to be so utterly grounded in his own mission and his own truth that her reality, naturally, and with a sense of profound relief, begins to orbit his. He is not a guest in her world. He is the architect of his own. Second, he must master the hidden language of desire. He has to understand that words are not for transmitting data, they are for creating feeling. He needs to learn the cadence, the rhythm, the very music of conversation that bypasses her logical mind and speaks directly to her soul. He must become a sorcerer of the spoken word. And third, he must understand the sacred, hidden physics of erotic tension. He needs to know how to create that delicious, almost unbearable space between anticipation and fulfillment. The art of the glance, the power of the pause, the ability to stimulate her mind so profoundly that her body has no choice but to follow. This is the trinity of power, an unshakable frame, a hypnotic tongue, and the mastery of tension. The man who possesses these three skills does not chase women. He does not need to. He becomes a gravitational force. He becomes an event. He becomes a walking, breathing work of art. And women, like all human beings, are helplessly, beautifully, and instinctively drawn to art. And when he has done that work, he will find that the women are simply a beautiful, glorious, and inevitable byproduct of the man he has forged himself to be.
Like at all. Like the things that actually can make a woman pursue you or chase you or be interested in you. Like, you know, Bill's a perfect example. He had all the things, not one, not two, not three. He had every single thing that guys think that they need to get women. And
Plus a desert island.
Desert island with 36 girls. Like you couldn't get a better scenario. So like that is literal proof that like all these things, you know,
Still didn't get laid.
Exactly. That's not going to solve your problem because here's a guy that had all those things and he still didn't do it. Right. And I have another sample of a bunch of guys in my fraternity that were short, that didn't have money, that weren't that smart, all this stuff, and they got a ton of pussy. So like I just know that it's not the traditional things that guys think that they need. That's a part of it. But I think like I said, when I kind of like deconstructed it, the biggest epiphany that I had was the difference of when you are chasing a woman or you're pursuing a woman versus when she's pursuing you. And like the flaws disappearing on both sides. When a woman's chasing you, your flaws disappear, her flaws magnify. Just like when the really, stage 5 clinger girl hits you up all the time, it's just like
The milk salesman, the auction, the stage 5 clinger. What Bilzerian is brilliantly, intuitively describing with these metaphors is not just a tactic. He is describing a fundamental, inescapable law of psychic physics, the cardinal rule of relationships. In any interaction, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other the least. Let's deconstruct the beautiful, brutal simplicity of this. The average man's entire strategy for seduction is built on a single, catastrophic error. He tries to convince. He lays out his evidence, his money, his job, his nice guy credentials, and he tries to build a logical case for why she should desire him. It's like a lawyer trying to win a case by screaming his arguments at a beautiful marble statue. It doesn't matter how brilliant his logic is. The statue cannot hear him. It is not designed to respond to logic. A woman's desire does not live in her logical mind. It lives in her ancient, emotional, reptilian brain. And that brain does not respond to evidence. It responds to gravity. So how does a man build this gravity? How does he become the only grocery store in town? It is not a mystery. It is an architectural project. First, he must become a man of profound depth. He must stop having wide, superficial conversations about the weather and her favorite color. He must learn to go deep, to challenge her, to ask the questions that no one else dares to ask, to be the one man who is more interested in the architecture of her soul than the shape of her body. Second, he must cultivate an aura of unpredictable adventure. Women are suffocating in a world of predictable, boring men. The man who can be a source of mystery, of spontaneity, of playful chaos, becomes an oasis in her desert of mundanity. And third, and this is the key that unlocks everything, he must become a sanctuary of trust. A space where she can, for the first time, take off her social mask and allow her true, unfiltered, and often crazy feminine soul to be seen without judgment. When a woman finds a man like this, a man who challenges her mind, ignites her sense of adventure, and provides a safe harbor for her chaos, it is so rare, so intoxicating, that she becomes, as the Don says, desperately thirsty to savor him. She will not just be attracted to him, she will become addicted to the very state of being he creates in her. She will not need to be chased. She will be the one who is desperately afraid of being left behind.
Like, you're not interested in her. Maybe she can suck your dick on a Friday night if you strike out at 3 a.m., right? But like, the same thing's true for women is like when these guys massively overcommunicate interest, they know they can have them. And then it's like a conversation of, do they want them? And when you're looking at flaws, you're going to find them. Like you've got flaws, I've got flaws, like everybody has flaws, right? So when you're looking for flaws, they stand out. But when you're pursuing something, like think an auction, like 5 guys want something, 5 guys are bidding for something and like you really want it. And you have this like, idea in your mind of like when you wanted something, you didn't get it and this fear of loss. You're not thinking about what's wrong with it. You're just, how do I get it? Mm-hmm. Right. Just like, and this is probably the most common mistake guys make is they're like, this girl's hot. How do I fuck her? You know, that's the thought process. Like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. Like, I would marry that girl. How many times have you heard a guy say like, oh my God, she's so hot, I would marry her? It's like, what if she has AIDS? What if she's a pathological liar? What if she's like 95,000 guys? What if she's just like a serial cheater? Like, what if this girl has massive problems? What if she's bipolar? What if she's got a massive alcohol problem? Whatever, right? Like, dig a little bit deeper, like be discerning, like go into the interaction, like wanting to find out more about the girl, not just accepting her looks as being enough. And I think that's the biggest problem that guys make, is that they just like the looks are enough. And then the conversation is like, how do I get her to like me? So you're already going in there with a handicap. Like when a salesman comes in, like he's already coming in from a handicap, versus like when somebody goes into the store because they need milk, they just go to the aisle, they find the milk and they buy it. Versus if you show up at the door and you try and sell them milk, then be like, oh, well, who is this guy? Is the milk old? Can I trust this? You know what I mean? Like the difference, like when you want something, it's just like, how do I get it? It's not, the same conversation. And so that would be the biggest thing. And I figured that out because I had a big sample size of girls that wanted to fuck me that I screwed it up with, and a big sample size of girls that wanted to fuck me that I also had sex with. And I think that's like,
This is the gnosis of the alchemist. He says, I had the control group. He had a sample of women who already wanted him, and he still screwed it up. Why? Because when he really liked the girl, his approach would change. His results would change. Let's call this disease by its true Gnostic name, ONEitis. It is the pathetic, romantic, and utterly catastrophic obsession with a single woman. It is a poison that a man willingly drinks, believing it to be the holy wine of true love. It is the reason you check her stories every 5 minutes. It is the reason you reread her text like a fucking scholar deciphering ancient scriptures. It is the reason you send that second, pathetic, just checking in message when she has left you unread for 6 hours. I am going to give you a piece of gnosis right now that is for your own good. If there is a woman you are obsessing over as you watch this video, a woman who is not reciprocating your energy, a woman who is treating your attention like a cheap commodity, I want you to pick up your phone, I want you to block her number, I want you to delete the conversation, and I want you to amputate her from your fucking soul right now. Why is this so critical? Because when a man is infected with ONEitis, his frame collapses. He stops being the unmoved God, and he becomes the supplicating boy. He starts over-communicating interest. He starts turning his poker cards over. And the woman's ancient, hypergamma soul, her million-year-old biological operating system, senses this shift from abundance to scarcity, from power to neediness. And it feels a single, profound, and visceral wave of disgust. This is not a feeling. It is a biological verdict. Her body is a fine-tuned instrument designed over eons to detect masculine competence and strength. When you are in your sovereign, abundant frame, you are broadcasting a signal of power, of a man with options, a man whose survival is guaranteed. This is the ultimate aphrodisiac. But the moment ONEitis takes hold, your signal shifts. You are now broadcasting a signal of desperation, of a man whose entire emotional survival is now dependent on her validation. You are no longer a king. You are a beggar. And a queen will never, ever fuck a beggar. His mistakes were not tactical errors. They were confessions. Confessions that his reality was no longer stronger than hers. And the moment she felt that, the game was over.
Like, look, in an experiment, you have to have the control group, right? Most guys do not have the control group. Like, I literally had girls sending me butt naked photos on Instagram. I want to f you. And I screwed it up with those girls. So I'm just saying, like, only in like cross comparing what worked and what didn't work with two sample sizes of girls that both wanted to sleep with me could I figure it out.
Given that you're the same guy to both of them.
Exactly. Because like, there's girls that just like wouldn't want to sleep with me because I'm Armenian or I have a shitty haircut or whatever, right? Like there's going to be girls that just like wouldn't fuck me, period. So because I had that sample that I knew that they wanted to sleep with me and I screwed it up, I was able to like figure out the things that I was doing wrong. And like one of the big things that I was doing wrong was like I was over communicating interest. I would have problems with the girls that I was like, oh damn, like this girl's hot, she's different, or like, or I really like her or whatever. And my approach would change. And because my approach would change, my results would change.
What about the sort of treat them mean to keep them keen / not signaling sufficient interest that that girl doesn't actually end up responding to you at all. I think, well, he's not interested, so this doesn't go anywhere.
So I wouldn't say treat them mean. I would say change your default setting from nice to challenging.
Listen to this. This is a critical distinction that 99% of men will never grasp. The beta thinks the opposite of nice is mean. He is trapped in a child's binary. The sovereign understands that the true opposite of nice is not meanness. It is challenge. The Gnostic invasion begins, the sacred intrusion. Let me be precise. Most men operate from one of two pathetic, self-defeating frames. The nice guy operates from a frame of supplication. His core message is, please approve of me, please like me, please do not be angry with me. He is a servant, and he reeks of the quiet desperation of the slave. The mean guy, the angry, bitter man, operates from a frame of reaction. He is a child throwing a tantrum. His anger is not a sign of his power. It is a confession of his impotence, a scream into the void from a man who has lost control of his own emotional state. Both are weak. Both are contemptible. But the sovereign, the man who is challenging, operates from a third and infinitely more potent frame, the frame of amused mastery. To achieve the state is not a mystery. It is a choice. It is the result of a ruthless internal audit. Before you can challenge her, you must first challenge yourself. I want you to ask yourself these questions, and I demand a brutal, honest answer. First, who are you? Beyond your name, beyond your job, beyond the people you know. If I stripped all of that away, what is the hard, unshakable core that remains? What is the gnosis that is uniquely yours? Second, what is your mission? What is the great overarching purpose of your life? What is the cathedral you're building that is so magnificent, so all-consuming, that the validation or rejection of a single woman is nothing more than a whisper of wind against its stone walls? And third, why should anyone follow you? What is the value you radiate into the world? How do you take care of yourself, your body, your mind, your soul? How do you take care of those already within your kingdom? A man who cannot answer these questions cannot be challenging. He can only be a supplicant or a child. But the man who has done the hard, sacred work of forging the answers to these questions in the fire of his own soul, he does not need to act challenging. He simply is. His very presence becomes the challenge. His frame becomes the prize, the mountain, the reality that a woman must prove herself worthy of ascending. This is not an act you perform. It is a state of being you must achieve.
Challenging. Because like a lot of these guys, like they aren't really nice guys. Like, oh, like, I just want to be it's like, you're not that nice to the fat chick. You're not that nice to the janitor. You're nice to this girl because you want to fuck her. So like this whole idea of like, oh, I'm just being myself, or like, that's another one. It's like, I just want to be myself. Like I want her to like me for me. And it's like, okay, well, there's different versions of you.
This right here is the most beautiful, most pathetic, and most pervasive lie in the entire modern dating matrix. Just be yourself. Let me give you the Gnostic execution of this concept. Which self? The self that succumbs to every impulse? The self that eats McDonald's and skips the gym? The self that drowns his anxieties in pornography and video games? Or the self that you must forge, day by agonizing day, in the sacred fires of discipline and will? The sovereign is not found. He is built. Being yourself is the beautiful mantra of the man who is too lazy or too terrified to do the hard, holy work of becoming the man he was meant to be. Do not be yourself. Become the man you were born to be.
There's different versions of you. There's a version of you in an Armani suit. There's a version of you dressed like shit. There's a version of you where you like take care of your diet and work out and like, work at your job. And there's a version of you that just like succumbs to every one of your impulses. Like, like I drive by McDonald's and like, I just want to eat fries, but I don't, like I want to have Snickers all day, but I don't, like you can make yourself better. And I think, a lot of guys don't do that. Like a lot of guys are just like, I want a girl to like me for me.
So get tactical for a moment with regards to guy has girl that he thinks she's hot, she's interesting, I want to pursue her. What is a better tactical way of moving toward that? What should they do?
Well, I mean, I would not start the interaction by over communicating interest, number one. So I would go up and, have a conversation with her. I mean, I've asked girls crazy stuff. I take like a pretty extreme approach, and I wouldn't recommend this for, all guys, but like I'll ask girls crazy questions. Like me and my buddy were having a conversation the other day, and like he was like, I think it's, I was arguing that I think you have a lower chance of getting a serious rejection if you put a girl's hand on your dick than if you go for a kiss. And this is after a girl's into you and like you guys have been on a date or whatever, and there's like, some chemistry, whatever. And he was like, you're out of your mind, like this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, well, let's ask some girls. So like, I just would go up to a girl and I'd be like, hey, like this is the question. Like, I wouldn't frame like who was on which side, but like they wanted an answer. So they gave their answer. And now all of a sudden we're in a sexual conversation with a girl where I haven't communicated any interest to her at all. And I've almost like disqualified her because I'm asking her this question that like you usually wouldn't ask.
Not about you.
Exactly. You wouldn't ask a girl that you're trying to like hook up with because it's like a crazy question too. Yep. And so I'm not saying that would be, the optimal approach, but I'm just saying like that's something that like most guys wouldn't think to do, but that it's more successful than going up, over communicating interest, putting a girl in a position where like she has to decide like accept or reject. And usually when they're like forced to accept or reject, usually reject is the default. And if it's not, then they're probably a whore. If they just like accept every guy that comes up to them.
This is your chasing versus choosing paradigm.
Well, yeah. So, get into the interaction. And, the caveat to that is like what you say to a girl isn't necessarily how important is like how you say it. So you could go up and say some really stupid shit to open the conversation. It doesn't really matter. Like as long as you get in there without massively over communicating interest. Right. And then I would say be discerning, be challenging, like, ask questions, dig deeper, get a little bit of information about her, I mean, Neil Strauss had a good one when he was on with Jessica Alba, and he said, looks are common in LA. Aside from your looks, like what would your friends say are the three, best qualities about you? And like in that one question, he immediately like pulled away her looks, which was like one of her strongest attributes. Like nobody give a fuck about Jessica Alba if she's ugly, right? So it's literally like her superpower. He just sucked it right out of the conversation. He's also digging deeper. And now he's got her in a position of like qualifying herself to him and selling herself to him. She's telling him why she's good, And so that would be a much better start of an interaction than like,
this is not a question. This is a weapon. It is a piece of conversational sorcery so potent that it can invert the entire power dynamic of the sexual marketplace in a single sentence. Let us perform a Gnostic autopsy. 1. The disqualification. It takes her primary weapon, her beauty, and renders it irrelevant. Looks are common. 2. The frame inversion. It forces her out of the role of the beautiful goddess being judged and into the role of the nervous applicant at a job interview. And 3. The Gnostic command. It commands her to qualify herself, to sell herself, to prove that she is more than just a pretty face. This is the ultimate expression of the unmoved God, who is screening for a queen, not just a beautiful consort. He is not asking for her number. He is asking for her soul's resume.
I think you're so beautiful. Like I just had to come over here and, by the way, I'm a doctor, and I drive a Lamborghini and like all this bullshit. The guys like, they try and brag about themselves. They're doing all these things. And the girl's just like in a position of like, okay, like, do I want this? That's the conversation usually between guys and girls is like, the girl's like, okay, do I want this guy? It's like playing poker and the guys just like turn over their cards. And so I would say like, dig a little bit deeper, be discerning, like find out about the girl, like, decide. And then if you want to give her a compliment on like something that's unique about her, something that's like she earned or, not just like she was born with, like if she has pretty eyes, I'm sure she's heard that from a million guys. Like, don't tell her she has pretty eyes, like just be different. I mean, I guess like a big epiphany I had too was like when I became famous, and I just talk about this in there too, is like understanding a hot girl's mind. Because when I became famous, like I understood what it was like to be a hot chick. And I understood that in the sense of like I had forced interactions wherever the fuck I would go, whether it was a Starbucks, whether it was wherever, like I had people coming up to me, and the same thing is true of a girl. Like when she goes to get her mail, when she goes to the grocery store, like guys are hitting on her all the time. So it's forced interactions. And what I notice is the first 100 times guys would come up to me and be like, bro, you're the man, blah, blah, blah. Like, all this shit. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And I always take the pictures, but I guess what I'm trying to, explain with that is, let's say you are a famous guy and a guy comes up to you and like, bro, you're the man, dude, like all this shit. And you've heard this 10,000 times. Is that going to make you want to have a beer with that guy? No. Like maybe you'll take a photo with him, you'll tell him you appreciate it, but it's not going to make you want to like hang out with him. Now, if that guy comes up to you and is like, hey man, I only got a second, but I just want to tell you like, I really like this, maybe the guy's a rock star. I really like this song that you did. And he told him a song that he did like in the garage. He's like, and I had that same guitar that you had and whatever. And then he's just like kind of excusing himself on the way out. Maybe that rock star like wants to have a conversation with him. Oh shit, that guitar, that was like one of my favorite guitars, like now you're coming at it from a different angle. And I would say the same thing is true with hot girls is like, if you go up and say the same shit that all these other guys have said to these girls, you're going to have the same knee-jerk reaction. The walls are going to go up. Mm-hmm. She's going to remember the last 20 times she got caught in a 30-minute conversation with some idiot talking her ear off, and she knows that the guy just wants to fuck her because she's built no value, right? Like early on in the conversation, if you compliment her a bunch before she's earned it, and it's kind of like you're telling her indirectly, you're hot,
above me.
You're above me, and your looks are good enough. I don't even care if you have flaws. Like you're hot, and so that's enough for me, and I'm ready to date you.
It's so funny, that kind of playground mentality of if I know that I can have it, I don't want it. And it's so funny how that seems to be in your worldview like a fundamental part of the physics of
this translates system. To everything. It's sales, it's negotiation, it's business, it's all these things.
The person that can walk away from the deal is the one that holds the most power.
Always.
So here's a big one. How do guys not get intimidated or nervous by hot women?
Well, I mean, there's like the correct way, and then there's hacks. I mean, you can just like pretend like the girl has chlamydia, if you like mentally kind of like register like she has chlamydia and like you wouldn't fuck her even if she wanted to fuck you, you're going to interact differently with that girl.
The chlamydia hack. This is not a joke. This is a piece of brutal, high-level Gnostic sorcery. It is a reality-bending incantation. The average man is paralyzed by a woman's beauty. He places her on a pedestal. He sees her as a goddess, a prize, an object of worship. And in doing so, he makes himself a pathetic, supplicating peasant at her feet. Bilzerian's hack is a violent, alchemical reframe. It is a command to your own mind. She is not a goddess. She is a flawed, dirty, potentially diseased human being. She is not the prize. I am. This is not about disrespecting her. It is about reclaiming your own throne. By mentally giving her chlamydia, you are performing a ritual that short-circuits your own approval-seeking programming. It annihilates your neediness. It allows you to interact with her not as a worshipful fan, but as an equal, or even a superior. It is a crude tool, but it is a powerful one. It is a sledgehammer to shatter the beautiful, pathetic prison of your own idealization.
And so that would be like the first hack to just like tell a guy, you know what I mean? Like if they go up to a super hot chick and they're just otherwise going to be really giddy and, nervous and just like excited, and all they can think about is like, how do I get this girl to like me? And then that they're actually on a date with the girl, which they probably never will be, should I make a move now? All this shit, right? But like, if you give her chlamydia, you just like suck all that out, then you take away that anxiety. He's not thinking about like, how do I have sex with her? He's not thinking about like, should I make a move now? And he's going to interact with her differently. And that's one of the things is like interact with these girls like they don't have a bunch of power over you. Like, like you don't need them. Neediness is not attractive, right? And I think that's one of the things that guys subcommunicate when they, overcompliment, when they overchase, when they do a lot of things that guys do, is they just put themselves in a category of like, the needy guy, which is most men. And if you want to have, if you want to have success with a super hot girl, like don't act like all the rest of the guys.
How should guys build confidence? Because it's all well and good saying that you should be the prize and you should make her chase, but what if you've got low self-esteem?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a problem that a lot of guys are going to have to deal with, right? So by not making the conversation binary, right? By not hitting on the girl, you're actually going to lower the pressure.
How should guys build confidence? The eternal question.
And Bilzerian's answer is a beautiful, intuitive articulation of the Cathedral's gnosis. He says you do it by lowering the pressure, by not making the conversation binary, accept or reject, and by acting as if you are the one with options. Let me give you the architectural blueprint behind this. True sovereign confidence is not a feeling you can just decide to have. It is the result of a specific internal architecture. 1. You must have a mission that is more important than any single woman. 2. You must be operating from a place of abundance, even if it is only a mental frame at first. And 3. You must understand that you are not there to get her. You are there to screen her, to see if she is worthy of entering your kingdom. When you adopt this frame, the fear of rejection evaporates. Why? Because you cannot be rejected from a kingdom you did not want to enter in the first place. A king is not rejected by a peasant who refuses his invitation. He simply, and with a quiet, amused indifference, moves on. The deconstruction is complete. The scattered sparks of Bilzerian's wisdom have been gathered and forged into a single coherent blade. The gnosis is simple, and it is brutal. Your power as a man does not come from your wallet, your height, or your rehearsed lines. It is the direct, unapologetic, and atmospheric byproduct of your mission. It is the gravitational pull of a man who needs nothing from the world because he is too busy building his own. Confidence is not a feeling you chase. It is the natural state of a man who has options. Attraction is not a game you play. It is a reality you command. The secrets you have glimpsed today, the art of the challenging frame, the heresy of the forged self, the sorcery of the disqualifying question, these are not just tactics. They are echoes of a deeper, more potent reality waiting for you. A reality where your very presence becomes a form of hypnotic, conversational magic. And deep down, a part of you already knows this. It is the part of you that is tired of the lies, tired of the weakness, tired of the pathetic prison of the nice guy. It is the sleeping sovereign within you, and it has just felt the first terrifying, beautiful tremor of its own awakening. To fully awaken that sovereign, to move from understanding these principles to embodying them with the effortless power you have witnessed, requires a total re-architecturing of your internal world. The Seduction Cathedral is the only forge on this planet designed for that sacred, brutal, and necessary work. If you are serious about your own evolution, then your next move is not a choice, it is a logical inevitability. Subscribe, strike the obsidian bell of unveiling, and begin the process of becoming the man whose success is no longer a goal to be chased, but a reality to be commanded.